Hi, I'm Johnny from UltimatePaperMache.com. I've got kind of a funny voice today because I think I'm getting strep throat. That's also one of the reasons I'm going to be kind of lazy today in this video. I'm not going to make anything for you. I'm just going to show you something I made before. And the thing that I'm showing you is how I made these baby animal dolls. This is the weirdest thing. I can't understand how I did this because when I write a book, I put a whole lot of effort into it, and I also usually make videos, quite a lot of videos, showing you how I actually made whatever is going to be shown in the book. When I wrote the how to make animal sculptures with paper mache clay, I've got a whole website full of tutorials on how to do that. All the recipes for these heads are of course on my blog. And I've also done several videos using almost exactly the same techniques that I used to make the paper mache heads for the dolls, but on other items. The ones that come to mind are the rhinoceros, in some ways the gorilla mask, the raven, and the Humpty Dumpty. All use very similar procedures that I use to make these little doll heads, but I've never shown you how I actually make the dolls themselves. Since Christmas is coming up, and these would just make a really good Christmas present, especially if you use the colors of someone's favorite kitty or bunny or puppy. They would just be really cute. So I want to let you know how these were done. Like I say, I don't feel very good today. I'm not going to make one for you, but I'm going to show you how one of the little critters that is actually in the book was made. So let's see how that was done.
We'll use one of the bunnies for the model of this video. These are not actually paper mache dolls, I have to say. I worked really hard to create a recipe for homemade air dry clay that does contain some paper. It's a variation of our paper mache clay recipe, so I guess some people can consider it a paper mache. I don't know. You can call it anything you want. Because the heads need to be hollow, the ears are soft and they need to go on the inside of the heads. It just has to be hollow. And in order to do that, we're going to use a baby sock filled with either rice. I'm using wheat because I happen to have a lot of it. I've used just about 1/4 cup, and as you can see, I just made a kind of a makeshift funnel with a toilet paper roll. If you have a real funnel, it actually works a lot better. You hold the rice in temporarily with a rubber band. Just kind of twist the sock around to make the rice really tight on the inside, and then use some dental floss or some really heavy string to tie around, and take that elastic band off again. Then you can put the sock over the end of a long bottle. Make it as tight as you can and put a plastic bag over it. I used the really soft small bags that are made for sandwiches for this, and it worked really well. The bunny's head has kind of an elongated muzzle, sort of an egg-shaped head, and so you just push and prod the rice around inside of the sock until you get the shape that you want, and then it's time to cover it with plaster cloth. The actual heads are made with a base of a thin layer of plaster cloth, and then over that you're going to have a thin layer of the air dry clay, the silky smooth air dry clay. The recipe is out on my blog, and I've made a really nice detailed instruction video on how to make that, so I don't want to do that over again. You're going to be doing most of the basic shaping with the plaster cloth. The first thing that you do is put one strip on, kind of roll it up and put one strip on each side of the head so that you have a nice wide cheek. Then take more wet plaster cloth and place it over all the rest of the head. You want to do it kind of in an orderly fashion, moving around the head, so you make sure that you cover all of it with at least one and preferably 2 layers. Smooth down the plaster cloth as you go along, and then when it's entirely covered, you use your thumbs and fingers to make an indentation right where I'm showing you here in this photograph, right above the cheeks. That's where you're going to be modeling the eyes with the air dry clay. Once it's all done, all the way down to the bottom of the neck, you then fold up a little bit more of the plaster cloth and put a ridge all the way down around the bottom so that the soft velour body will not fall off. Now you can set the head aside for about 10 minutes and make up your silky smooth air dry clay. I'll put a link to that down below. If you don't happen to be watching this on YouTube or on my blog, just come to ultimatepapermache.com and go to the paper mache recipes tab at the top, and you'll find the air dry clay below that tab. Before you add the clay, you're going to need to take the sock out and the plastic bag and the rice, and so you just go ahead and use some sharp scissors and cut that piece of string that's holding the rice in. Then pour the rice out into a jar so that you can use it again, and just pull on that sock. It'll come right out along with the plastic bag, and you can use all of them over again. You can make as many dolls as you want with the same sock. And now you're finally ready to put the air dry clay. You don't need to wait until the plaster cloth is dry. Both the air dry clay and the plaster cloth will dry together. If there's any really big bumps that you don't think the air dry clay will cover, go ahead and take those off with a knife, and then use a small piece of air dry clay and press it around the head. You want to press it on as tightly as you can and just keep on kind of smooshing it around until you cover the head with a very thin layer of clay. You don't want very much. I'm using probably 1/16 of an inch here, and believe it or not, this is going to be an extremely strong head, even though there's very little clay on there. Make sure that you squish any edges together if you have to use 2 or more pieces of clay, and then use the palm of your hand to smooth everything out and pat it, just so that you get a nice smooth cover. You're going to be doing a little bit more modeling on this head, but you want to let it dry at this point. If you can allow it to dry between modeling sessions, then it's a lot easier because you don't end up messing up pieces that you've already sculpted before. Leave it overnight in front of a fan. Actually, if you're really in a hurry, you can just use it. You can just let it harden up a bit in front of a fan, but overnight is really best. When the head is dry, you want to mix up half and half mixture of Elmer's glue all and water. You're going to be using this in order to keep new pieces of clay sticking to the old pieces. The air dry clay is not sticky, and so you need that help of the glue and water mixture. You now get to start adding features and make this very simple head into a real bunny. The first thing you'll do is put on some of the mixture so that you can make these little eyeballs on there. Just make a ball in your hands and stick it on there. Kind of pat it down with the palm of your hand if you need to, in order to get it nice and round. You don't need to do much else. Then you get to use your pencil and draw the lines where the nose and the cheeks are going to go out in front. Use more of the mixture before you put those on, and pat them down nicely so that they're nice and rounded. At any point where you feel that adding something new might distort the eyes or the cheeks or anything else, go ahead and let it harden up a little bit before you move on. When the eyes are hard enough, you can go ahead and start putting on the eyebrows. Those are fairly simple, just kind of a big snake over there. Do that on both sides, of course, and then you need a nice wide sheet of the air dry clay to blend the 2 eyebrows together across the top of his head. You can make very long, thin snakes of the air dry clay for the bottom eyelid, and put those on. Use a tool of some kind to press them up closer so that they're nice and rounded and smooth, and they make the shape of the eye properly. There's a little kind of a fold across the top of the bunny's nose. Just do that again with another little snake. You can put little details on there if you want to. That little ridge that I just put on in this photograph just makes the bunny look a little bit younger. We are doing baby animal dolls, so the youngest the better. Now you can go back over the head and fix anything that you think needs it, add a few little details if you want, and then allow it to dry at least overnight. Probably 2 nights would be better because you want it to be totally, absolutely dry all the way through before you add any paint. Before you paint your head, you're going to want to cut the ear holes. These are the holes where the soft velour ears are going to be pulled through from the inside. I actually used a Dremel tool for most of my dolls, but as you can see here, a sharp box cutter knife will also work. You don't want the hole to be too wide or the ears are going to fall out, of course. You can sand it with an emery board or just use a piece of sandpaper like I'm doing here. When the head was dry, I painted it first with an acrylic gesso to give a nice white ground for the next paint. You could also use the homemade gesso recipe that's out on my blog under the paper mache recipes tab if you'd like to. Then I painted all of my heads, no matter what breed of rabbit it was, with a nice warm white first. That was just titanium white with a little bit of yellow ochre added. When the white was dry, I added a pink stripe around the eyes and around the nose with some diluted cadmium medium red. This gives that characteristic pink stripe around the rabbit's eyes. It was kind of fun to mix the paint so that it would be the same color as the ear and body color that I was using for the cotton velour. The velour comes in a lot of different colors, and so do rabbits. You get a lot of choices there, but you do want the main color of the head to match that body color. Otherwise, it's going to look a little bit strange. The color was put on in many layers, as you can see here. I just keep on making hairs, slightly different colors, just a little bit more, until I decided it had enough fur. Then the eyes were done. The eyes were made very simply with one big black pupil, and then they're very dark brown iris. Of course, the white bunny got blue eyes instead of brown. And then in order to define the eyes, I mixed up some burnt umber with some acrylic glazing liquid. You can get that at any art store or through Amazon.com, and then rubbed it off. And you can see that outlines the eyes and gives it some definition without having to go along with a really, really teeny, itsy bitsy brush and putting those lines on there. It also gives it just a little bit of a folk art look. And I also put that, at least on the brown rabbit, I put it on the fur and then rubbed all of it off and really defined the brush strokes. It made it look really nice. You want to let the paint dry completely, then give it at least 2 coats of a matte acrylic varnish and let that dry completely, and then it's time to add the ears. Those really soft ears really make these unique dolls. I don't think I've ever seen anyone else make them like this. The ears are fairly easy. The pattern, of course, for the ears and the body and the dresses are all in the book. But then pulling them through is just a little bit challenging. You'll need a piece of very strong thread that you make a very small stitch at the very top of the ear, and then pull it through from the bottom up through those slits that you made for the ears. You have to do this very slowly, very carefully, or it's going to end up rolling around and not coming out as flat as you want it to. Once you have both ears all the way through, then you can just take your scissors and cut off that little bit of string that you have, and then your head is actually done. This video is getting a little bit long, so I can't show you exactly how the body was made. The patterns, like I said, are in the book, and it's fairly simple. The only challenging part really is making those feet. I did make a video showing you exactly how those toes are defined with a few simple stitches. That's really kind of fun. And then the arms are held on with a very long, you use a really long needle and some very strong thread and a couple of buttons, and that holds those arms on really nicely. The legs are actually part of the body pattern, so they don't need to be added on there. The dress patterns are also in the book. There's both dresses and little overalls and t-shirts in the book. I am not much of a sewer, so all of the sewing patterns are really, really simple.
So that's how it was done, and I just wanted to show you here real quick. this is my kitty. You've seen her in a lot of videos because she usually gets in them voluntarily. I woke her up this time just to show you. This little one was actually made using a baby photo of this obnoxious cat. Isn't she cute? She changed a lot, but she's still sweet and I still love her. So that's how the little baby animal dolls are made. I hope you enjoyed this. Come visit me, ultimatepapermache.com.